Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm in Jamaica and I'm very excited to be here. And I have not done this online, this particular thing. So we are experimenting together. It is participatory because, and even if you go to the theater, you're an audience, but you're participating in, you have to be actively participating. So we're all going to figure out how this works. But there's some basic things I want to go over first. But I do want to tell you, you're going to have to unmute at a certain point, and you're going to have to let me see you at a certain point because we're going to go through this together. So I do transformational work. I work in a very difficult area. I'm the university director for the Institute for Gender and Development Studies. And as you probably all are aware, particularly since COVID, the incidence of gender-based violence, which is one of my areas of specialization, the incident of child abuse, both physical and sexual, have been on the rise, right, across the world. And unfortunately, this is also true in Jamaica. And that has been exacerbated because in the last 2 weeks, we've had 4 murders, 4 femicide. So I'm in the process of organizing island-wide protests against the incidents of femicides that are happening in Jamaica, and just really trying to come to grips with what that is and how we, what we can do, because many people are feeling vulnerable. The last big case, and you'll see it because I've written a piece that we're going to work on, was a young woman, 20, by the name of Jocson. And she got in a taxi. The man said he left something at home. He somehow lured her in his house, raped her. And this is heavy duty. So, I'm sorry for kind of sharing this heavy duty stuff with you. But when we talk about social transformation, it's usually about heavy duty stuff. It's about stuff that impact people. It's a matter of life and death. And how do we change it? How do we transform it? How do we get people to buy in? And one of the ways we get people to buy in is through theater. I don't know if you're familiar with Sistine Theater, but they've been around since the late 70s, early 80s. And they've done a lot of transformational work in Jamaica and in the Caribbean, throughout the Caribbean region, on transformational theater, on issues that they've brought to light about domestic violence, gender-based violence, all those kinds of things. So I need to preface to just say this is heavy, what we're working on, and I therefore invite you to breathe. So let's start here, because also theater is about the breath, the voice, the physicality of it. So we need to begin by breathing. So I invite you, if you're sitting, to sit up nice and straight and push your shoulders back. I invite you to put your hands just at the lower part of your abdomen, where your diaphragm is. And we're going to breathe in very slowly. We want to really fill our lungs. We want to feel the breath traveling up all the way from our rib cage, all the way. And I used to say, let it shoot out your head. And then we want to hold it. And when you breathe properly, when you inhale, your stomach, is being mushroomed like a balloon. So you're really pushing out your stomach. So we're going to do it to the count of 10, slow. I'm counting slowly. And then I'll say hold, and we'll hold it for 5. And then we'll release it for 5, because the inhalation and the exhalation are important in terms of just cleaning and recycling the energy. And if you've had a long day of meetings and other things like I have had, then you definitely need to do that. So please put your feet firmly on the ground. And let us just now put our hands at the lower part of our stomachs, our diaphragm, and to the count of 10. And of course, it also helps if you close your eyes, but you don't have to. Just breathe in and feel the air travel, push out your belly like it's a balloon filled with water. Keep it traveling, feel it coming up through your rib cage. It is now slowly coming up to your neck, and it's traveling. And hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And slowly, don't let it out all at once, just through slightly parted lips. And let your entire body be a part of the process. So your shoulders are supposed to round, and your stomach, you're pulling in your abdominal muscles, and you're pushing all the air out. I'm going to let you do it one more time at your own pace, but to a slow pace of 10. You want to hold it, your balloon, it's like a balloon filled with water that you don't want to burst. And then you want to release it. So let's do it again at your own pace. Begin. Hold it. And slowly release. And just blow it out. Just blow it out. Do your hands, shake your hands. Shake your neck from side to side. And do a little twisting in your chair. Right? Excellent. Very good. So I would invite you now to put in the chat one social issue that you think is important. So just go in the chat and write that for me. And I'm going to begin to share screen and go through this part very quickly, because this is really a practical thing. We're going to be working together. And I haven't quite figured out, I should have said to, I should have tried to figure out how to put you guys in rooms, but it's okay. This is a one-time session, so we'll do that. So please enter into the chat. I see one thing, addiction and related youth support. All right, so I'm back to sharing my screen, back to the slide presentation. And where on this thing, it says slide, it usually, yeah. Slideshow there. All right. Excellent. So affordable housing, depression, addiction, social injustice, mental health, juvenile delinquency. Excellent. Keep going with that. So this is a theater workshop, theatrical empowerment and social transformation. And the presentation, I want to say, is dedicated to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I don't know where you are and whether or not you've been hearing on the news that Sophia the volcano has erupted, and it is creating all of the people of St. Vincent, except for about 15, has been evacuated. Even this morning at 4 o'clock, huge eruptions were flying, and it is now spread throughout the Eastern Caribbean. If you see pictures in Barbados and other Caribbean islands, the devastation is unbelievable. So I wanted to dedicate this presentation to them. So the objective is to find the heart, the common humanity in every story or any story that you want to share. And you want to see how you can guide the I voice to become the we voice for full social transformation. Because it's very easy to be dismissed if you're an I voice. But when you transform that into a we voice, when there is a community and a coalition, then social transformation can occur. So you want to build a coalition for change. Right? So I want people say to me, oh, I can't do storytelling or I can't do performance. And I say, nonsense. Our lives are contained in stories. The origin of creation is a story, first of all, right? Regardless of your religious or spiritual belief. And our lives are contained in stories that are embellished, that we and expand and alter as we move through life and decide how we want to show up in the world. So today, I am showing up in the world as Opal Palmer Adisa, a professor, but there are times when I show up as just, some people might say I'm a little bag lady, not quite a bag lady maybe, but just, they just see me walking around in my jeans and stuff, and I show up that way. And I don't want to show up as a professor, right? So we all know that there are different places and spaces that we show up differently. Well, theater performance and storytelling are natural and daily aspects of our lives. We always are reinventing stories about who we are and what stories we want to tell about ourselves, right? So what is the story you want to tell about who you are today or who you are being forever? However, there are some very specific and basic techniques for use of the body, including physical gestures to convey emotions. And we're going to look at that. So the two most common ways are through the face and the voice. And here now I'm going to stop sharing screen and I want to see you guys because I am going to want each of you, or some of you at least, to show us your face and what is your voice. So for instance, we're going to get into the emotions, right? And I am generally a very happy person. So this is my happy face, you know? So I want you to introduce yourself. Beth, I think, yeah, and Victor and Michael and Marie and Cara and Conrad. So you each unmute and now introduce yourself just by your first name and show me your face. What is your regular face? What is your predominant face that the world sees of you? Go on, Victor, let's go. And then Michael. And then Marie and Cara and Conrad.
Victor Take.
Come closer, Victor, and show us your face. Yes.
That's me.
And what face is that? One or two words to describe your face.
That's the predominant external and internal me smiling and trying to live a happy life always.
Okay, thanks. Mikal, I hope I'm saying it correctly.
You had it right the first time. It's Michael. Hi, I'm Michael, and me.
And what's that face?
I'm just trying to find the positives wherever I can. So.
All right, thanks. Marie?
I'm Marie Claire, and I have a smiling face.
Cara?
I am Kara, and this is how I greet everyone because it doesn't matter what we're going through. I want everyone to be welcome and happy. So that's my face.
Conrad and then Gabrielle.
I am Conrad.
Come a little closer, Conrad. Come, so we see you. And tilt your
casual face. This is Conrad.
All right, tilt your screen.
My screen like this.
Yeah. Yes. There you go.
Okay,
excellent.
This is face now. This is a regular face.
All right, Gabrielle, and then Marcia and Annie.
Hi, I'm Gabby, and like Michael, I would say that this is the face that I put on when I try to put my best foot forward.
Thank you. Marcia?
Hi, I'm Marcia. This is my happy yet tired face after a long day of dealing with kids.
Okay. No, I skipped somebody. Who did I say? Annie?
Hi, I'm Annie. This is my smiley face. I'm definitely a smiler.
And then I see Beth and Amber and 04. Beth?
Hi, I'm Bethany, and this is making me very happy because you all have really good energy and vibes, so it's nice.
Amber?
I'm Amber. This is just kind of like the regular face that I have most of the time. I try not to show how stressed I am a lot. So I try to smile as much as I can.
Smiling is good. It enlarges, it elongs our life. Okay, who is 04 BCS? Change your name, my dear.
I am Rachel, and I'm using my work iPad, so that's why I'm 04 BCS. This is my smiley, also silly face, I guess. Because what can you do? Oh, somebody changed me to Rachel. Thank you.
I see you did. Thanks. Christina and Chiquita.
I'm Christina, and similar to everybody else, this is my happy face and the face I like to present when I want to put my best face forward.
Okay. I'm Shaquita, and I am so excited to see everybody's face so close to the screen, and I don't even know why. So, I mean, it's just sort of weird. Like this feels sort of weird, but like everybody moved position, like we changed position, and it feels personal. Like when somebody moves from being like way back here to like now being right here, I feel like everybody is engaged and actually listening to what each other has to say. And so I think I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable as heck. I don't know if anybody else is uncomfortable, but I'm okay. So this is my uncomfortable but okay face right now, because everybody is kind of like right here. And I've just been in a bunch of meetings where after this point now, it feels like I've been in a meeting with a bunch of disconnected people, because now I feel video connected in some type of way. So I'm uncomfortable, but I'm good. And
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for
Thank you all. Okay. So the two most common ways in which we communicate, and this is particularly true of theater, is both from the voice, which we've all just shared, and our facial expression. And I'm really delighted that all of you, or most of you, are happy people and you put on a happy face, because I think that makes a difference, particularly during this period of time. So voice and facial expression, both of which are translated through emotion. And guess what? What are these? Where's my cursor here? Why are we not going down? Did I not put back on slideshow? Okay, I had to do that. Okay, so humans are driven by emotions, and there are 4 basic emotions, out of which other emotions come, but happiness. Everybody, if you're not feeling happy, I want you to feel happy just now. Sadness. And if sadness is not just your face, your entire body feels sad. So let's see these sadness, you know, the voice changes, the posture changes, fear. Let's see, bring up that emotion of fear. We've all experienced it. What does that feel like? How does it change the face? How does it change the voice? It does. Anger, you know, or rage. That also changes the muscles in the face, the muscles in the jaw. It changes, you know, whether you clench your fist or, you know, and hold yourself. All of these emotions not only are translated on our face, but are translated through our entire bodies. And when we are doing a performance, the performance is driven by these different emotions that we project, that we contain, that we dissipate, right? So these are the 4 basic ones, but there are many others as well, of you know, that goes along, okay? So humans are driven by emotions, and these emotions are often associated with feelings such as when we're happy, there's a feeling of lightness. There's a feeling of gratitude. There's a feeling of reward, right? When we're sad, we're feeling as if we're being punished, or we're suffering, or if we're unloved. And there are obviously many more realms, but these are the basic. Fear, oftentimes, there's immobility. There is indecisiveness. There is panic. And anger is feeling as if you lack control, powerlessness, and defensiveness. So these, when we operate in terms of transformative theater, and when we are trying to share whatever the issue is that we want to transform, then we are guided by these emotions, and we're guided by these emotions, understanding that they solicit in others similar feelings. So while happiness varies for all of us, you know, if I were to say, what is it that makes you happy? We would each perhaps give a very different thing that makes us happy, right? But with happiness, I think many of us can feel the sense of lightness, the sense of gratitude, the sense of reward. Similarly with sadness, you know, it's you're suffering, you feel unloved, as if you're being punished, everybody's against you. And fear is a very strong emotion that oftentimes make us immobile, that make us indecisive, that put us in a panic. And anger You know, we shout, we stomp, we throw things, we curse out, but it's really lacking control and powerlessness and defensiveness. So humans are driven by emotions. Emotions and perception lead to conflict. And conflict is unfortunately very common in our society, in our world. That's why we have wars. That's why we have mediators, and we're beginning to understand how important that is. But it's almost impossible, unless you're a monk, to go and live in the world without having conflict. And sometimes the conflict are about simple things. You know, sometimes you say something and this is not what you mean, but the person who is receiving it, because of whatever baggage or hurt they have, then it becomes something else. I have witnessed people get into fights because someone steps on someone's shoes. It is not about the shoes. There's a whole history behind the shoe, right? So we have to be very aware of conflict and how it manifests and operates in the world. So emotions and perceptions lead to conflict, and conflict is talking now from a theatrical and literary point of view, is a common device, a key element in literature and theater. And why is that? Because one of the things that theater and literature deals with is how to explore or how to get over or get through the conflict. And simply put, conflict is a struggle between two opposing forces or ideas or philosophy. And conflict often feeds most narrative, and it drives it forward. It is as we are working through the conflict that, you know, we see things that happen. So emotions and perception lead to conflict, and often through conflict, we can unearth deeper meanings about who and what people or characters are. It's very, if you think about it and you think about, and I want you for a second to reflect on someone with whom you've had conflict very recently, right? And what did you learn about the character or yourself? You could put that in the chat, right? So through conflict, we learn we learn a lot of things about ourselves and also the other people, our characters. We learn about what motivates them, what their values are, and what their weaknesses are. And it is through being able to step into their shoes in terms of motivation, value, and weakness that we can move. And social transformation is about getting people to move from whatever ideological, philosophical position that they have into something else. Because if we can't get them to move, then we're not going to make any progress. So we have to read and be very discerning about what we're learning about people in the way in which they move through conflict, what is motivating them, really listening to them, not just the words, but the meaning of the words, right? What values are they espousing as they're going through this? And then really key, what are their weaknesses? Because it is through understanding their weaknesses that you could find a door into problem solving. So theater as transformational tool always has a larger goal: to push a specific position, to garner support, and to change minds. And today I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that in the very short time that we have here with each other, that we will be able to change minds and garner support. So let's see. I always want to check in the chat. So we talk about social injustice, mental health, responding to trauma as educators, supporting to end self-harm, abuse of power. So only one person in the chat. I need the rest of you to talk about it. Through recent conflict, I'm learning that I value people feeling valued and hear a lot, and as a way to teach them and gain buy-in. I'm not sure the person on the other side values that, or that or they are so overwhelmed they cannot prioritize that piece. We are protective of ourselves and positions a bit. I realized I was upset at the situation, not the person, but I was taking it out on them. And that's a very common and easy thing that we do. We take things out on people. So we want to make sure your values and your actions are in alignment. This now is a quote by Paulo Freire, a Brazilian lawyer and educator. Many of you are familiar with his work. And he is very much tied into transformational theater. So one of the key things is you have to make sure your values and your actions are in alignment. So, you know, as they say, speak the talk and walk the walk kind of thing. Can you be a great civic educator if you're not practicing and living democratic values in your classroom, right? So someone just said, sometimes it is difficult for us to share our feelings with others. Opening ourselves up is tough, right? And because we feel we're going to be judged, and also opening ourselves up is tough, not only because we feel we're going to be judged, we're not sure whether or not what we say will be taken in the right light. That sometimes people don't realize how they impact others unless we tell them. We can't expect someone to read our minds. Very true. Okay, naming. So there's a lot of nomenclature around transformational theater, and I just wanted to give you some of the language if you're looking this up at later. So oftentimes transformational theater comes under the heading of development theater, popular theater, theater for the oppressed, community theater, intervention theater, protest theater, theater for social change. But these are all transformational theater that is practiced in the industry. All of the above theater forms tend to be or utilize a participatory approach. Now that is key, I should have underlined that, because transformational theater and participatory theater go hand in hand. You have to listen to the people for whom you want to transform. They have to be an integral part of the process. So participatory theater encourages actors to interact with the public, to solicit their input on a real problem facing their community. That's a key element. So whatever incident you come up with or situation, in order to really be transformative and to do transformational theater, you have to get the voices and input of the public or the community for which you are working. The participatory approach offers a community the opportunity to process collectively. And because there's such a splintering in communities, and particularly now during during COVID, it's this process, I cannot emphasize enough, this collective process to think through and problem solve how to improve the situation without escalating the conflict and avoiding violence. These are very important aspect of participatory theater. For me, it's the collective thinking through and problem solving. So engaging people in multiple, we tend to think of things as being able to solve with just one. We want participatory theater allows us to be engaged in multiple ways of looking at a problem. In the chat, I found that the conflict I experienced was caused by my own anxiousness in the situation. I'm learning how to breathe and open to hear and see all the perspectives. Yeah, that's really important. Oftentimes we don't. Listening is a skill that needs to be taught, because oftentimes we're so busy with our answer that we want to say, somebody starts saying something and immediately we have something we want to add, that we don't listen to what they're saying. And that also leads to conflict and misunderstanding. So the goal is to positively transform the situation for the benefit of the community and its members, right? So this is where we're going to spend some time, and I'm going to try to figure out how best to do this, because even in terms of how my camera is angled and what you need to see. Okay, so basic movements. I know you might not think of immobility as a movement, but immobility is a movement when people are stiff and rigid, right? And mime, which you all know, which is gesture, rather big gestures. So rather than saying, I'm sorry, you know, there are different ways that our face say that. So gesture is any physical movement that communicates a person's character, state of mind, and relationship with other characters and her or his environment and its members. So you must always be cognizant and aware that your gestures are not just about your physical interaction with somebody else, right? It's about the environment and how you're operating and seeing yourself in the environment. And it's also about the other people in the environment. And we have all, I think, at some point witnessed, you know, people who are very demonstrative, especially if they're in the public and it seems like they're trying to get the attention of everyone. So, you know, physical gesture becomes a part of that. So other gestures are body languages, which you know about, posture and gesturing, gait, you know, the pace, the stillness of your body, the calmness of your action, the consciousness of how you move your hand or head, the timing, you know, wanting to make sure that it's calm and collect, the facial expression, the listening. Yeah, aware of the space between your body and other people's body, you know, the dance and the choral movement that is not just dance as a discipline, but the way in which we move about space, the control. Are we able to give eye contact and look the other person in the eyes to see who's going to gaze away first? Some of us have a blank face, a computer face, you know, where we don't show emotions. We've learned not to show emotions. And then some of us are very expressive. People are going to know immediately that we like or not like something. So interaction, the way you interact with other performers, other people, all of these things, these are other forms of gestures. So I'm going to stop share screen here because I want us to do a few exercises. So in the chat, many of you wrote what you saw as some of the social issues. And what I want you to do now is to think about what you wrote or what you see as a dominant social issue, and to think about the emotion that drives that issue for you. And it could vary for other people. And I'm going to call on you again, right? So when I call on you, you're going to say what the social issue is. And you're going to say and project, face, body-wise, the emotion that you think this issue requires. Is that clear? Kinda, yeah? All right. So as I said to you, I've been dealing with heavy duty femicide, and femicide is in fact, there are a number of us. I was working with some researchers in Latin America who have made much more progress than us in North America, because, okay, how are murders reported? They're usually just reported as homicides, right? That is a male bias. Evil women are homicides. So we're trying to get the law to change, not just in the Caribbean and South America, that when it's a woman who has died or who was killed, that it does not say homicide, it says femicide, right? So I've been dealing with femicide in the Caribbean. And so there are many emotions that I go through. One very terrible incident that happened that I won't share the details with you. It made it very difficult for me to get out my bed the next day because I thought, what is going on? What, you know, why would someone do that? So for me, it's femicide. And really what I'm feeling is a kind of rage, you know? It's like, God damn it, we need to do something. This enough is enough. So that's the emotion that's driving this island-wide protest and campaign that I've embarked on. So I would like you to just self-select. I'm not have any problem selecting you, but if you're ready, just unmute and say what your issue is and what is the emotion that's driving it. And let us see and feel that in your body and in your voice. Whoever is ready to go, just speak up. This is participatory.
Okay, this is Rachel. I put addiction down and I saw someone else did as well, but being a teacher in the classroom, addiction affects all of the children involved in the situation. So for me, addiction, I feel sad for the children and the parents because it's something that they can't dig themselves out of. And I have a friend at work actually who's fostering, and parental rights are about to be terminated because the mother can't drag her, like she can't find her way out, and she's been trying to for a year. So I feel sad, I feel pain, I feel empathy. I myself have not had a drug addiction, but I'm a very empathetic person, so I feel like I take on the feelings of all the people in the situation.
So Rachel, I want you to say addiction, and I want to see and hear the pain in your voice and in your body.
Okay. I don't know how to.
Yeah, you can. Of course you can.
I'm tearing up a little bit now, but I'm not.
So take it out of your head where it is intellectually.
Okay.
And move it to your heart to feel that sadness, and to convey that sadness, because it is not, in order to convey that sadness, it is not your regular talking teacher voice, which is what you've given us. So just take a second and put it in your heart, and let us see and hear that sadness.
So hard for me to do. I'm not a very, like, I don't share my emotions. I'm a very emotionally shut down person is what I say, because I don't share them with people. So it's hard for me to do in front of a whole group of people. So I'm gonna try.
You're only doing it in front of me, my dear.
Okay. Oh, I guess addiction. That's the best way I can do it.
Okay, we'll come back. That's good. Thanks for trying. But there it is. There it is. There it is. Thank you for being vulnerable and for sharing that. Next person, please. Come on, unmute.
Well, I was going to talk about mental health awareness, but your mention of the feminist side, I teach Spanish, and we always talk about the northern border where the women are working in the factories and are missing. And we were watching a news story and my students kind of froze and they said, "Miss Brown, you're crying. What? You never cry. We've never seen you cry." And I always put on a strong face. And it was the one time that I just couldn't. And the lights were off and I turned the lights on and there were a lot of students in the room who were crying too. And I think that there's a real sense of powerlessness and hopelessness. Like, how can you fight this? It seems so impossible. And where can we find the strength to fight it?
Thank you, Beth Ann. Yes. And this is what these situations do, which is why it's so important to work in community. Because if you take it on alone, and by crying and letting your students witness that, it was, although you might not be aware of it, that was a tremendous strength and a gift to give them, to let them understand that when there's pain, there is an appropriate emotion that needs space to be expressed. So thank you. Next person, please. Let's have at least two more. Thank you.
This is Kara. I was going to talk about supporting and trying to help find the end to self-harm. As a middle school teacher, I've recently this year had a student who has been suffering with self-harming and found me as the person that they could open up to in my class in front of their classmates. And all I wanted to do was just, and I'm going to do it now, I just wanted to cry. And I wanted to hug that child and let them know that nothing could hurt them. more than what they were doing to themselves, and that they could find all the support and love in the world if they just asked the right people. Because they didn't have the support at home because of the addiction of their family members and other things. And yeah, even just thinking about it, I started to cry earlier. So
crying is very powerful, you know, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Crying is very powerful and very healing internally for you as well as for the other people, even though it might make them uncomfortable. So thank you, Cara, for sharing that. One other person, please.
Insensitivity across the board. I think that, like the previous speakers, Beth and Kara, a lot of things spill over because those of us who are around the people feeling what they're feeling, we're insensitive.
Mm-hmm.
The big politicians, down even to our classrooms. I really get off when I see that someone cannot even acknowledge the pain that the other person is suffering from. Just acknowledging, nobody says find a solution. Just that acknowledgement, or even just feeling for that student who is sitting there and cannot even score a D, and having a conversation, even if they have 40%, they will be happier with you.
Mm-hmm.
That insensitivity, to me, has escalated problems in families, in the classroom, between teachers and admins. I don't even want to go to politicians.
Right.
That is where it's even worse. I mean, a group of people are suffering, they're feeling the pinch, and you tell them that no, they're not suffering. They are feeling it. That's what leads to caravan of people crossing into America or other places.
Right.
I don't know. I just feel that we have to be sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Sensitive to our children, to our people around us.
Yes, thanks, Victor. And you know, insensitivity grows because we are bombarded daily by so many pain. Sometimes insensitivity becomes our way to protect ourselves. At least we think so, to protect ourselves and to shield ourselves from some of the harsh realities in life, because it can become overwhelming. But we have to guard against it. Because as you say, our insensitivity blocks us from really feeling and helping people. And just, it's amazing what that acknowledgement of someone pain transforms.
Yeah.
Right, so your sensitivity is really crucial there. One last voice, and then I'll go back to the slide and we'll get into some specific activity. Is there one other person?
So I said gun violence.
Okay.
And the whole idea of it, not only just it makes me so angry, but it just makes me sad. Currently in Philadelphia, the number of people who've been killed under the age of 18 is just sad. And as an educator, to think that these children will never grow up to see adulthood, will never have a life, you know, it's just sad to me. And the fact that, you know, Victor talked about the politicians, you know, this gun lobby has the politicians in their pockets. And because of that, you know, we're losing so many young people who could possibly do great things in this world. And so it makes me angry, but as a mother, it just makes me sad.
So it's anger and sad. I heard more of the sadness than the anger, you know.
Well, I'm the mother of a 13-year-old Black boy, you know, and I'm afraid every time he walks out the door, you know, and because of COVID, he hasn't had to walk out of the door too often, but, you know, just the idea that he could leave my home and one day not come home to me just scares me.
Yeah. I have a son, much older, but believe me, I understand that feeling. And I think many of us have that feeling. All right. So thank you for that. Really important that we see that and take that in. So as a result of these femicides that have been happening in Jamaica, and because of this protest that I'm launching, I decided to write a piece about it. And it's called The Language Must Heal. And as a writer who has written quite a bit, you know, I was really beginning to question this medium that I use and how can it be more effective? So I will share this with you. How do I keep my sister safe? Kanesia Johnson murdered, body dumped, Jasmine Dean abducted, disappeared since 2019. The list is endless. Women and girls raped, bodies burned, mutilated, tossed like rubbish in empty lots. What does it say about our development if despite all our efforts, gender-based violence is on the rise? How do I use my words to illuminate the inequities, these femicides, these acts of misogyny, these crimes? How do I make my words have power beyond the page, fix those men who punch, berate, raped, and murder, then move among and around us, then move around and among us? So many women feel vulnerable, fearful. How to smelt my words into a powerful balm that heals and transforms, ends gender-based violence, and make our society safe again. Please, how? Please help me. So this is my social act that I'm trying to transform, and you have already listed in your in the chat those things that you want to do. So now what we're going to do is very important, and I've never done this online, so I'm going to see how it works. One of the techniques that I use in transformative theater is a one-word story, and it builds collectively. So we decide and agree on a theme, a topic of current social issue. We could pick any from the list in the chat, and each person adds a word or a phrase until the group feels the story is completed. So let's say self-harm. Let's say, for instance, we were to pick that story, right? Because it sounds like many of you are teachers, and self-harm is becoming much more prevalent in the classroom, and it's an issue that we're becoming more aware of. So, I forget who said self-harm, but anyway, let's say the person who put self-harm would begin, right? And would begin with a word or a phrase. And then the next person would repeat the word and the phrase and add to it. And we would go around like that, right? So not only are we building collectively, we're building a momentum, we're expanding and enlarging the topic, because each of us is going to add something to what we think. While it's based on the previous words or phrases, it's also based on where we want to take the story. And one of the things about performance theater is that you have to be open, because you never know where it will go. You might have a larger objective, right? So my larger objective is to bring awareness to femicide and to let the community be outraged that it is happening so frequently and come up with some strategies to stop it. That's my larger goal. I go to the community, and depending on which community I go to, and I invite the participatory voices in there, I will more than likely hear things that I hadn't thought about. And therefore, I am going to now have to figure out how to connect them and how they move towards my ultimate goal, if they do. Because other things might be introduced that I am not aware of in that community, right? So with this Kanesia Jackson, when I wrote a piece in the paper about it, a man called me, and he was the one who found her body on his way to work. And not only did he find the body, he said, "Professor, I have known her and her mother for 15 years. So that was part of the story that I just got the public version, the version on the news, right? And so I created my own little thing. Hey, this man calling me and inserting that personal, devastating aspect of the story changes the landscape for me, changes how I deal with that. So the thing about transformational theater and participatory theater, you have to listen. You have to understand that you might not know where this will take you. And this could be very painful. And it could take you to places that you're not, you have to pull back to heal from. So that's part of it. And this one word story, when I've done it in the classroom, it invariably depends on the topic, takes all of us to places we hadn't anticipated. So we'll start, and I will look at the names to say who's going to go first, second, and third, right? Rachel, were you the one who brought up the topic? Yes?
No, I was talking about addiction.
Right. Can you, the person who said it, remind me who you are? Just unmute.
It was me, Kara.
Okay, Kara. So Kara, I'm going to invite you to start, right? And then I'm going to go through and say what order we're going to go in, because we want it to go as quickly as possible. So the Kara is going to begin. I've decided arbitrarily that we're going to do self-harm, and that each person that I call on, you're going to say what the previous person said, and you're going to add on, right? And we're going to see how that works. So let me go back to participants. And so Kara is going to start. Then I want to go to Annie. Please remember your order, because I should be writing this down. Annie, then Amber, then Bethany, then Christina. Where is my participation list? And so we're going to go there. And then Marie, Victor, Conrad. I hope you remember what order you're in, because I don't. I didn't write it down. All right, Kara, begin, please. So you're going to have to unmute. You're going to say, the next person's going to say what Kara said, and you're going to add to it.
Insecurity.
Insecurity. Next.
Insecurity and vulnerability.
Insecurity and vulnerability. Next.
Insecurity, vulnerability, desperation.
Okay. Let me also invite you to be a little bit more specific. These are very big generalized words, and part of the effectiveness of a transformational story is giving face to it, right?
Okay, so with desperation, what I meant is like desperate and feeling like there's no other option but that.
Okay, next person.
Insecurity, vulnerability, desperation, like there's no other option. Find healthy coping strategies.
Insecurity, vulnerability, desperation, find other helping options is a big problem, not only to parents, but also to teachers as well.
Keep going. Next.
Insecurity, vulnerability, desperation, and listening to our inner self may find a solace.
Okay, but you left out a number of other things other people said. Is a big problem not only to parents, but teachers as well. And then add on to that, please.
Insecurity, vulnerability, desperation is a big problem for teachers, and finding your inner voice may help.
Okay, next. Who's next? Thank you, Chiquita, for typing it in the chat. Next, come on. Christina, Michael.
I didn't have a place, but I'll go. So insecurity, vulnerability, desperation, and feeling like there is no other option. Find healthy coping strategies is a problem to parents and teachers. Listening to find your inner voice may help. Find your support people. Find someone to support you.
Find someone to support you. Mhm. Next. Christina, you're going to go?
Yeah, I can go. All right, insecurity, vulnerability, desperation, and feeling like there's no other option. Find healthy coping strategies is a problem to parents and teachers. Listening to find your inner voice may help. Find someone to support you, and you matter. I feel like I could elaborate on that, but just some sort of like something to remind those that are suffering from that I feel like it comes from a place where they feel like it doesn't matter if they're there or not. So the idea of just you matter. Your life matters, how you feel matters, being here matters. That was a lot. I didn't mean for it to be that long.
Amber, did you go? And Conrad, have you gone?
Yes, I did go.
Okay.
I didn't go, I'll go.
Marcia, go please, thanks.
Insecurity, vulnerability, desperation, feeling like there's no way out. Finding healthy coping strategies, a big problem to parents, but also for teachers as well. Finding your inner voice may help. Find your someone to support you. You matter. There is light on the other side.
There is life or light?
Light.
Mhm. Has everyone gone? So here's what I want us to think about now and for us to explore gender. So we have to give all of this to somebody, girl or boy. We have to decide on who we're speaking to. So are we speaking to children in general, children and others who we feel do self-harm, okay? And then we have to decide, and somehow the text is already deciding for us, what is our larger objective. So let me hear from you either through opening your mics or in the chat. Are we speaking about a girl or a boy? Let's just decide real quickly, or even non-binary, but let's decide. Cara, since you started.
Well, I know most of the students that I've interacted with have been girls, but I've had a few boys that this might be what they need to hear. But if we're looking for something for a larger group to work with, then we would want to go with the girls.
Give me a name for her.
I don't know, trying not to pick one of my students' names.
Right.
I'll pick one of my daughter's names. I'll pick Trinity.
Trinity. Somebody give me her age. Anybody?
12.
13.
Okay, 12. I heard 12. And how does she self-harm? Someone else?
Cutting.
Cutting. Okay. All right. Are we done with the story, or does the story need something else?
Well, we don't know why. Why?
Do you think they always know why?
I think they know things that are going on. So, I mean, why you actually do something is not what I mean by why, but the why is sometimes what makes you feel the way you do.
Very true and very important, yes. Any suggestions of to the wise, Victor?
Understanding the person.
Yeah, but what we're asking is why is the person doing this? What's going on in the home? What's going on with their self-esteem? What's going on at school? Is there bullying? Is there sexual abuse?
Right.
Is there body shaming? You know, what is motivating Trinity at 12 to cut herself? What are some of the issues she's having?
Trinity is definitely having a wrong image of herself.
Yes, so there's body shaming, there's cyberbullying.
And just believes that that body is not worthwhile and say, hey, let me damage you.
Right, okay, yeah. So a lot of young girls have this issue about body because in our very gender biased patriarchal society, we've decided what everybody should look like, but the emphasis is on what girls or women should look like. And so it's very easy for all of us to constantly be criticizing how we look and to be feeling very badly about how we look. And if that how we look is reinforced negatively in the home, in evil offhanded things that a parent might or might not say, then that exacerbates the situation. All right, now another thing we have to decide is we're sharing this with young people, right? Teenagers. Yes, all right, so we're sharing it with teenagers. And what are some of the emotional landscape that we want to share? What is it? What is the emotion that we want to dictate this piece?
Peer pressure.
Huh?
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure. But what's the emotion behind peer pressure?
Anxiety.
Anxiety.
Fear.
What else?
Fear.
Fear.
Sadness.
Maybe anger too.
Okay, that's enough for us to work with. Now, the last thing we're going to do is how do we want to frame this theatrical piece, right? So do we want to frame it as if it is Trinity 12 who is speaking? So it could be
Maybe we could,
go ahead.
maybe we could say something like, we see you, like we see your scars, we see your pain, we see the fresh bruise, to make them know that someone recognizes their pain.
So that we see your scars, we see your pain could almost be like a chorus that is woven throughout the piece, right? Teen camouflage, I'm seeing an anger there. So we have Trinity, a 12-year-old girl who is insecure, who's vulnerable, who is depressed, feels like she has no other options. She don't know how to cope. And she has nowhere to go. And she sees her parents and her teachers and she's not sure who she can trust, you know, who is listening. And she can't even hear her inner voice anymore. She needs someone to help her hear her inner voice, to find support, to believe that she matters, you know, that despite how desperate she's feeling now, there is light on the other side. And that we see you, we hear you, you know, and we understand that there's peer pressure. We understand that there is body shaming. We understand the sadness and the anger you must feel that you're unable to convey to us. But we want you to know we see you and we hear you. So now I want three different people, different emotional level and different emotional quality, to say the list. Either you speak as Trinity or you speak as yourself speaking to Trinity. And I want to hear how you want to convey that to Trinity so she hears it. So it's not just somebody talking, because a lot of teenagers think, oh, there goes somebody else just talking. But she hears you. Come on, we don't have a lot of time. Time has gone by very quickly. I can't believe it. So
I try.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. I'm afraid to say my name because I'm embarrassed. I'm insecure, but my name is Trinity, and I don't know how to be vulnerable. I don't have an option. I'm not sure why I'm talking to you. I don't trust you. I don't know how to help myself to feel safe. I know that my problems affect the other people around me, but nobody is listening. And I don't even know what I sound like when I talk. Nobody believes that I'm important enough to provide me any support because they're all too busy. And I want to matter. Nobody understands what my pain is like. And I see darkness. And how dare you tell me that there's light anywhere? And I want to die.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Did you guys feel that? Yeah.
She's so bad.
Yeah. So let's hear it from another voice. Because the learning process is hearing it from other voices. Because in hearing it from other voices, you get a sense of the depth of what we're dealing with, and you also get some light, some new insights. So who wants to take it and do this? And do it from the I voice, because in that I voice, there's a collective voice. Sometimes the I voice also echoes the we voice, and the I voice is very strong in terms of testimonials and how that testimonial touches others to open up so it becomes the we voice.
Trinity, I think I'm here to listen to you. As your counselor, I am here to support you. You may feel no one is listening. I'm listening to you. I'm feeling you. I understand you as an adult. And I look at your grades. I see you have A's. There is power in you, Trinity. There's value in you. And there are also some distracting voices around you. Those your friends or those you call your friends, they are causing you harm. We're going to work together so that I can create other positive friends that you may hang on. I'm equally here to help you to avoid statements that I want to die. There is life in you. There is beauty in you. And your parents love you. I have services for you that you cannot imagine. You are going to rise and shine, Trinity. With my support, with support of other adults like me, in the next couple of months, you'll be looking at this like, wow, was that me? You will see a different Trinity. Come on, Trinity, smile. Smile, thank you, Trinity. Smile, there's power in you, okay? I'm here to help you. Thank you.
Thanks. One other voice?
I don't know whether I said something.
You said a lot.
Trinity, I see your insecurity. I see your vulnerability, your desperation Like you feel like there are no other options. And you're sick and tired of people telling you that you're a problem for your parents, you're a problem for your teachers. People telling you, you need to find your inner voice and everything will be all right. You need to find someone to support you. You want to, find someone who can tell you that you matter. I see myself in you and I know that you matter. And I'm here to tell you that there is light on the other side.
How does that feel? How do these different scenarios feel to you in terms of, again, you want to think through the eyes of a 12-year-old? And of course, there are different 12-year-olds who hurt themselves, and the different approaches, they require different approaches. So any response to any of these interpretations and the emotive quality? One of the things that we have found, and those of us who do transformational theater, is that you need to move people emotionally. And when you move them emotionally, when you touch their hearts, you'll get them to take some actions that you want them to take. So in terms of these different, we heard one Trinity speaking for herself. I'd like to actually hear another Trinity. I'd like to hear someone else who comes from the voice of that 12-year-old. Is there anyone else who can do that? Or who's willing to try? Not just yet. But this is something I actually would like you to think about and perhaps to do on your own, that this is a good practice in terms of transforming. So how does it change if you're speaking as the 12-year-old Trinity for whom this is a reality, as opposed to if you're putting on a performance to say, hey, you know that little girl there? Yeah, one with the torn up jeans who always has on some cap on her head and some baggy shirt. You know she's 12, right? You know her name? She's Trinity. Yeah. What do you think about her? Do you know she feels insecure? I think she's depressed. She's definitely vulnerable. I never see her with anyone, you know? And I think she doesn't feel like she has any support. And I don't think she's the only one. You see that guy over there who never sits with anybody when he's having lunch? I think he's another Trinity. I don't think they matter. You know, do you matter? Do you feel like you matter? I don't think they matter. I don't think there's any bright light for them. But I want there to be a bright light for them. How do you think we can help them, make them see that bright light, let them see that who they are is enough? You know, I think we need to maybe have a little group at school so that the Trinities and the Joshs and the Beths and, you know, all these kids who we see every day and we know they're not being engaged by anyone else. There's something going on. And we really need to pay attention. We need to let them know we care, that we see their pain. We don't understand it, but we see it. And we want to help them get through it. What do you think about that? I really would like you to help me start a group so we don't read about these kids, these Trinities and these Josh, but we really help them to find the light in themselves. Think about that. So I think we're almost out of time. Yes?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much.
Well, let me just quickly finish this then. So we've done that. We've did our one-word story, and I want to thank you. We won't get into the park bench because there's no time for that. But this is another activity that I usually do where one person is sitting on the bench and they're telling their story. So this could be the same kind of body shaming story, and other actors come and engage the first actor in an attempt to get her to give up their story. Because when you're trying to do transformational story, there will always be those naysayers in the community who say, you're talking nonsense, what you're doing here, da, 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 da. So this is a way to get you to be prepared and be more grounded in your story. So you want to know and own your story, whatever story it is that you want to be transforming. You want to be passionate about it. You want to have as many facts as you can. So if it's about kids who are scarring themselves, then you want to read up and get some research and some data on that. And there's data on that. You want to decide on the most effective technique to persuade others to take on your story, or simply to inform them to invest in it. In other words, to be more alert. The other teachers in your school, so that they be more alert to children who might be harming themselves. And that awareness, that's how you build collectivity, and decide on who will be your best allies. And depending on who is your best allies, that's the kind of message you take. So I want to give you 1 or 2 minutes I wanted to allow you more time to ask questions. But so by participating, you've shown a willingness to transform the world to a better place for the majority. And for me, it's creating a safe space for women and children. So I want to wish you infinite blessings, and I want to thank you. And now I want to just give you a few minutes to have questions or comments about how this went for you. It went very fast for me. Usually when I do these, they're a 3-hour workshop. And so we had an hour and a half, but I hope this was beneficial. And please unmute and share anything that you want, any questions, quick questions you might have. We have 4 minutes.
Just really quickly, I need to, before I have to run off to another event, but I need to tell everyone that we have another workshop tomorrow. It is a poetry workshop. And so I want you to kind of process what has happened thus far, which is that for our first workshop, we talked about the personal being political. The personal was political, and we learned how to use symbolic interactionism to understand our empowerment voices and kind of what we bring to the table and how that makes sense, and how we can be empathetic and think about what other people are going through. And then in the next workshop, it was about meditation and it was about healing. And I'm putting the links to the videos here for you. And so this workshop about meditating and healing was about giving you the energy that you need to then to have the ability to pour and to do the things that Dr. Adisa is telling us to do, that if you're going to get together with people and be able to have this energy to think about a story and to encourage people to tell the story and bring it together, that you have to be able to be strong enough yourself to have that light and to be able to, pour on and have more to give. So, we need to take care of ourselves. And now this amazing story, this ability for us to come together and create these collective energies and collective stories, and then empower people to work together to fight for something, to stand up for something, to be very protecting in our behavior. This is the next step in this empowerment strategy. And then so tomorrow we'll talk about, poetry and the spoken word and how you can bring those things together. But I'm going to let Annie remain as the host, and I'm going to run to this next CATF event where we're going to be talking about Black women voters and encouraging our African-American women and leaders to change the way we're looking at voting around the world and in the United States and so on and so forth. But thank you, Dr. Adisa Palmer, we appreciate you so much. I hope everybody understood the power behind the story that you provided today. I hope everybody understands how important it is to be able to work collectively with a team to become more compassionate and to be more empathetic and to use our emotions and not be afraid to be emotional, not be afraid to be vulnerable as leaders, because sometimes we need that. Sometimes we put these blocks up and we're so afraid for us to have emotions because we feel like we need to be the strongest people in the room. We feel like we can't cry. We feel like we can't feel anything because we need to be there so that somebody else doesn't break. And so just this idea of being extra vulnerable and knowing how to express your feelings, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. And so I'm so grateful for her to come here. And so talk for as long as you need to talk. Annie's going to be here and it's going to be recorded. And I thank you all so much for making yourselves available, vulnerable, for being able to feel right now and just giving all and being able to do that in front of all of these people here is such an amazing thing. So I'm going to go, but my heart, boom. Yeah, right out to all of you. And just thank you so much again. Annie?
I'm here. I think
Annie,
you might
you
have
are,
to make me host so that you can leave instead of.
you are the co-host. I'm gonna click this button.
Okay.
And I'm gonna see you all soon. I'll see you tomorrow. Love
The
you.
recordings need a passcode.
The recording need a passcode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
I will look into that and make sure I either share the passcode or just take